brought to you by PrayLatin.com, makers of prayer cards featuring complete English phonetic renderings of Latin pronunciations. Yesterday, I reported to you that the bishops of Germany, according to a respected German sociologist who is a Catholic, 90% of them reject the church's moral teachings and engage in a kind of chronological moral relativism where things that were true about the church's moral teachings are no longer true today. That in the past, the church got it right, but apparently now she has it wrong. They have forgotten Christ's most basic teaching, that the truth, what was always true, is still true. That the things of the faith don't change. He makes that very explicit in sacred scripture. And yet, the German bishops, as I reported for you yesterday, say they don't actually believe that. They believe that specifically that sin that Father James Martin, FJ, has an unhealthy interest in for a Catholic priest, those teachings may have been true at one point, but they're no longer true now, and that we should submit the church to scientific rigor when it comes to her teachings, especially on morality and on identities related to the morality of the flesh. It's a remarkable admission, and it's bad enough if it's just words, but when it comes to these kind of things, there's always actions that go with words. And I ended that episode with a very uncomfortable question for you. Do they hold to their vows? Yes or no? We won't know unless somebody does something really dumb, gets caught doing evil things they shouldn't be doing. But they gave us a hint. So we go to Gloria TV, only place reporting this. With this news from the EN News Service. The Archdiocese of Munich and Freising, Germany, announced on social media that several Catholic groups and priests participated in the James Martin type march in Munich on Saturday. This would have been right after the First Deadly Sin month ended. The day began with an ecumenical service at the Kreuzkirche in Schwabing. Participating groups included the official Catholic youth organizations BDKJ and another one whose name I'm not going to ruin, as well as the Archdiocese's multicolored stripy pastoral service. Then you get pictures here. I'm not sure if that's a Catholic church or not. I don't see a tabernacle, and that crucifix doesn't really look like a crucifix. But yeah, that is part of the event. Oh, look, it's in English too, by the way. Their banner is in English. There's a reason for that. They're trying to demonstrate international support. Christopher Street Day Parade in Munich. Love is no sin. They're a little out of date. People don't use hashtags anymore, really, but you get the idea. More things. Again, official Catholic groups doing this. I mean, why is the church involved? Why is the church involved in this? Why are the German bishops doing this? Do they have faith? Do they keep to the church's teaching? Perhaps they feel motivated to do so, like they can get away with it after all. Father James Martin, really the only consequences he ever faces for encouraging people to embrace their sinful inclinations and to live proudly as that being central to their identity, thus leading souls to eternal perdition. The only pushback he ever really gets, besides angry voices online yelling about him, is occasionally a bishop with some sense quietly cancels one of his talks. And then James Martin really never mentions that it's been canceled, or if he does, it's just an email to people who bought tickets or something, and a few voices online yell about it, and then life goes on. He's never really been formally reprimanded, other than apparently by the superior of the Jesuits telling him not to talk about his own inclinations, which is a weird thing for a priest to have to be told. James Martin, his name is synonymous with that sin, and then for a reason. He goes off every time there are social movements pushing back on the normalization of that sin. Meanwhile, Catholic groups in Germany have the support of their priests and, by extension, their bishops for engaging in these evil marches that celebrate evil, that celebrate sin, that celebrate making these things normal and preying upon the most vulnerable in their minds and in their hearts and, yes, in their flesh, in the name of inclusion and synodal ecumenical dialogue. That report from that sociologist said that 90% of the German bishops reject the church's teaching on these things, and they believe that the church's teaching should be subject to scientific review. When they say that, they're not talking about biology, they're not talking about physics, geology, whatever. They're talking about sociology and the social sciences, which are not scientific. I know because I have a PhD in a social science. They're not scientific in the slightest. Oh, they like to have the trappings of it. They do peer-reviewed studies. They like to go collect data and things. But their allowance for error in their studies puts them well outside the range of the normal natural sciences. The so-called social sciences are exactly what the German bishops want to place the church's moral teaching at the behest of. And the thing about this is the social sciences are firmly in the grips of ideologues, people who have replaced faith with a religious worship of politics, their own warped conceptions of justice, and of course, scientism. Scientism is the elevation of science and adherence to scientific processes to the level of ideology and religion. Bishop Robert Barron is probably the best in the church today at shredding scientism, and I wish he'd spend more energy on that than on other things, honestly. But this is the state of the church in Germany. The bishops of Germany say, no, we're not going to uphold church teaching on these things. In fact, we're going to allow our priests and official Catholic lay organizations to go celebrate the evil in the world today with our full-throated backing and support. How many souls are lost from this? How many? And one of the reasons they say they do this is because they believe the church's moral teachings are directly responsible for the scourge of wicked priests harming the most young and the most vulnerable from 20 years ago. They continue to invoke that to excuse their so-called reform efforts. They shamelessly do this. They have no qualms about doing that. And they disregard the fact that those harmed were typically done in a way that conforms to what we know about that community of folks that James Martin has a weird interest in promoting and defending. The German bishops probably know this, and it makes you wonder, why do they do this? Do they truly believe that the church's teachings are not only out of date, but wrong and have caused grave harm? Or is there another reason for this? Either way, it's heresy. 90% of the German bishops, that sociologist said, hold to this. What are we to make of that? Can you trust any bishop who holds that view? Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you haven't. It certainly helps. Sharing this on social media helps too. If you've ever thought about supporting the work we do here at Return to Tradition, description box below has options for all of that, all of which were asked for by viewers of this channel. Patreon, Subscribe Star, or the Subscribe Plus button below. It does help keep these daily messages coming and is greatly appreciated. Pray for these bishops, for their conversion before it's too late for them, and pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.